Artlist.io.
Get down in the car, one time give it all, bust it open hard, let me see you drop. Get down in the car, one time give it all, bust it open hard, let me see you drop.
Music licensing reimagined.
I fucked up this hustle, yeah, we hustle, but the oh my God. I fucked up this hustle, yeah, we hustle, but the oh my God. But it's my guys, know that they fly, know that they ride or die.
Hey, good morning. Good morning. Happy Friday, man. We made it through the week. Boy, we got lots to talk about today.
We're here, man. We are here.
We are here. We got lots to talk about.
Crazy week. Loved the week.
I don't even know where to begin. Yeah, it's been a great week, though. It's been super nice to kind of catch up with people, just to kind of hear where the rates are at this week.
Yeah.
Why they think why we're at today. You know, what are they experiencing? We actually showed a lot of people. Good morning. Good morning.
That.
Yeah, thanks for being here, Grand Transportation. But, you know, we also were able to help people just find more carrier relationships with e-carrier checks. So we have a lot to uncover today.
Yeah. I thought
I'm
it was
excited.
an interesting week. You know, we had the opportunity. Bella, what is up? What is going
What's
on?
up, Bella?
You know, oddly enough, Bella, we are talking about you today. Stick around. We'll chat about that a little bit. I love your insight. But
And congratulations, you just got married.
she did get married. I mean, good for you. I love that.
Congratulations.
That's exciting. You know, I thought the week was just a wild week. You know, we had the opportunity to sit in the seats with some brokers and just see how bidding was going. We got to see how sourcing was going. It was just an interesting week. And whether you're a carrier or broker, let us know what you saw. Did you see rates go up this week? Did you see them go down this week? We saw a quick little tightening. Bella talked about that in her economic thing. But I think what was interesting about the whole thing is that, you know, it was almost like we saw, you know, some people bidding scared. We saw people, you know, just kind of obviously it's gone into the spot market, and we've seen a lot of people just kind of building just worry into their week.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yep. Depending on what kind of freight you do, right? That yeah, you're welcome. Good morning. My name is Nobody. Thanks for being here. But yeah, depending on how your day-to-day process looks like, you work a bid board. Do you know, does your customer email you, with set rates already?
Right.
The contract rate. It's been a kind of a whirlwind of emotions on rates. So, if you're not building relationships, you need to get on e-carrier check today and start preparing for next week.
Yeah.
Start blasting out emails. Start calling them. What do you got going on? Here's what we're seeing. That the brokerage we took a visit to today, a lot of those carrier relationships they were calling them, instead of posting.
Yeah.
And that's what we have to do because these rates are definitely high, and the carriers are taking advantage of it too, which I get it. The weather plays a factor. You want to be compensated for the weather delays, and there's all sorts of things that play into these rates going up. But it's been really crazy to see and just kind of hear the reaction from brokers this week.
Yeah. In some particular cases, we would see, where it was crickets. They would post, not get any calls. If they did get calls, the rates were up anywhere from 10 to 15 to 20%. It depended on the lane and the equipment and things like that. But I definitely think, when people come to us, they're looking for carriers, they're looking for sourcing. And what I think is interesting about our platform is we'll help you build to the future, but we're not a magic pill. You know what I mean? For anyone that's in the industry right now, if you were allergic to work, then you need to get out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You got to get out.
Now we're putting in
go.
work.
Just go, because you're putting in the work. And what e-carrier check does is we're not a magic pill, but guess what? We'll give you the blueprints. We'll show you how to build that thing. You know what I mean? And so we're trying to build for the future. We're trying to build that update there. And I enjoyed this week. It was hectic. But I enjoyed the craziness of seeing what the spot market really is,
Right.
So I wouldn't mind just diving through, Bella put out this freightcast or this kind of where we're at, what we're up to. If you don't follow her on LinkedIn, hop on there. It's wonderful. T. Landy, what's up? But she talks about just how fragile the freight market is because it reacts up and down too quickly. We used to have these crazy rubber band cycles. In fact, the reason why we built eCarrier Check was just sheerly I was a freight broker and nobody was calling off DAT. And what the hell do you do?
And here we are.
Yeah. And so we were like, hey, let's build some software. Let's make this and make it easier. And it honestly helped us. But we would see these crazy swings. And now we see like the swing to be a ripple through a week. You know what I mean? Through, what's next week look like? Yeah, it's President's Day Monday. There'll be a little bit of a flow issue on the start of the week, but the end of the week will probably just work itself out.
Right.
You know what I mean? Right. But I thought what she says, she goes, the volatility without real demand, strength behind it, it's these quick little reactive way of going about, these weeks like this.
And personally, I think once the bad weather just stops coming, obviously we don't know Mother Nature, but I think things will kind of go back to normal. The rates probably go back to normal. I get why these carriers are so aggressive with the rates at the moment.
They got to get paid.
They got to get paid.
Yeah.
And some of the areas they're going into, I mean, frick, I don't know if I want to drive into them. You know what I mean?
That's what we're doing. Yeah, that's what we're doing.
We're dropping F-bombs.
We bring the real world. But, Freightwaves has been talking about it for weeks. If you don't follow Craig Fuller, he's been talking about the rejection rates continue to climb. And so you're seeing a lot of people jump from contract over to the spot market. Right. That was one of the rubber bands we saw sort of during, I don't even know if you can say this anymore, but you just dropped the F-bomb. But I'm going to say COVID because I know YouTube used to censor us out when we said that, which was wild. But, I think that as people start to jump from contract to spot, we're in this kind of this gray area where that's still happening. And produce season may be a wild ride coming up. You know what I mean? So if you have set rates, better start building some relationships.
Yeah, we'll get into that too. So a couple of things that Bill mentioned too was, why did some of these, or I guess what drove some of these rate spikes? Obviously weather, with holidays, obviously people are taking time off. There's a jump in tender rejections. And then obviously aggressive carrier pricing, carriers leaned into the spot leverage.
Yeah.
Which we understand, reefer spot rates cross contract rates for the first time in 2 years, it sounds like.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been kind of crazy on what's on these rate spikes. Kind of crazy to see, kind of crazy to hear. Again, if you're just joining us and you're dealing with some of these rate spikes, create some relationships. You're posting and no one's calling. You get on eCarrier Check today, start calling carriers, emailing them, try to build a relationship.
Yeah, I thought what was interesting about a few of the calls that we made with some people this week was several of the carriers we called, they hadn't been on DAT or truck stop. They think it's kind of a poor place to find freight. They didn't like having to deal with some of the people that were on the load boards. And we were able to get wildly competitive rates. And so I think, if you're going to take anything away from today is I think you got to be, your sourcing plan for carriers for the rest of this year needs to be well thought out, needs to be methodical. And I really think, obviously, look at who you're getting freight from, look where they're shipping that freight to, and start to build it right in that area. Very, very meticulously think through, here's where I'm going to find freight. So I don't haul produce out of Florida, but are you guys seeing the crop losses from the cold weather? But what are you guys seeing for crop losses from the cold weather? That's a great question. I actually haven't seen necessarily like what the outcome has been with some of those crop losses outside of iguanas falling from trees. I haven't actually got the numbers or seen the reported numbers. But I do know, Bella does mention in here, 4 straight weeks of truck shortages in Florida. Florida outbound rates exploding, 83% to Atlanta, 60% to Chicago. So, you see that winter vegetable peak is intense competition for trucks. Reefer spot rates elevated up to 257. So, I mean, it definitely, that cold snap that was down there, like you're saying, it definitely impacted rates wildly quickly. Because we're from the Midwest, obviously, we've got a heart for the people that are growing things, whether they're flowers or agriculture in any particular case. And so I always hate to see loss, but it definitely does spike rates for carriers out of Florida.
Yeah.
Usually out of Florida is just absolute garbage, and obviously you're probably aware of that, but to have a big spike like that up into Atlanta and Chicago, that's rough. That is really rough.
Yeah. One thing too with if you're doing contract stuff, what are these conversations sound like with your customers? It's like, hey, things were good. Right now it's kind of hard to get these covered.
Yeah, if you looked at like C.H. Robinson's Q4 report, right? They had a lot of freight that moved out of they had freight in contract, couldn't get carriers for that. And so you started to see their gains kind of slip away because of that.
Yeah.
I think what's interesting about bids, RFPs, RFQs, if you're a broker, I think it's wildly important to keep those bids shortened as long as you can. I think getting a year rate is tough to manage. I think quarterly or 6 month is something that I'd recommend. A lot of the brokers we deal with are all spot market brokers. And so they're not necessarily dealing with large contracts, but if they are, here's what you got to be selling to those carriers. Okay. If you're in that gray and you're talking to those carriers, it's consistency, it's pay, and just say, hey, you don't have to get on the load board. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to get you this freight every Monday, Thursday, and Friday. Because we're going to do that, though, we're going to see if we can find you, we need to come back to this rate, right? And those are the conversations that you need to have. I think what's interesting is people just chase money, right? And when oil gets high enough, truck driving becomes this limited thing. Everyone just jumps to the friggin' oil fields because they make more money, right?
Yeah.
And then when oil goes down, guess what happens? They all jump back into trucking, right?
Yeah.
And so you definitely right now, you need to sell consistency. You've got to sell, pay. You've got to sell those things that matter to those guys, and building those relationships with those contract guys. It's tough when the money's a little better on the other side of the fence, and they can see it too. That's the other problem. I remember we had a couple guys that were in LA right during COVID. It was just nuts. There was a weird, we just took a roller coaster. All the contract rates were making a ton of money. And all of a sudden just came right back up and friggin' just messed with a ton of people, right? A ton of brokers didn't have enough cash. All the carriers wanted a weird amount of money. And so because they're motivated by money, you're going to have to make sure you find the right carrier that's motivated by relationship, consistency, and not dealing with maybe some of the noise that's in the spot market.
Yeah.
The spot market is wildly noisy. You're still dealing with fraudulent stuff, which is it's tough to deal with. Jeff Dickinson, if you're not following him, that cat always is talking about fraudulent carriers and how to vet them. And you also see, Highway coming in and Genlogs coming in and doing those vetting kind of concepts. God, the spot market's noisy. You know what I mean? And if you are in a place where, I don't know about you guys, but I've had more friggin' people strike that. I've had more AI bots call us than ever before. Hey, I'm looking at this load, and you're like, are you a computer? Like, stop it.
Yeah.
I almost have to a certain extent, you're like, when you see the broker react to a computer calling you, you almost see like I'm not talking to this. We've all been there. I don't know how many of you have called Walgreens and just tried to get to the pharmacy.
Oh God.
That's a 45-minute combo just to try to get to the pharmacy. Maybe I can help you. No, you can't. I've got 5 different issues with me. You're not helping me.
Right.
So there's some weird AI / human sort of clashing that's just starting. We're going to get into that more as the future grows. But I definitely saw that. What we just renegotiated our rate on his contract, new bean counter, trying to make her name. Yeah, and you have to. I think, honestly, I think Tire Killer kind of hit it on the head. And, Tire Killer's been with us for a while. He's been watching our show. But if you're not, as a carrier or a broker, and you're under a contract, if you're not going to that customer and asking for some sort of increase each year, 2, 4%, 3%. You see the LTL carriers announce it every friggin' year. They're, they want 5%, 6% on their deal, on their tariffs, right, or their rates. And what I think is really important is what he's saying right here. Go back out, renegotiate, make sure that you understand what their needs are. Man, I tell you what, right now, because of this gray area we're at with contracts and spots sort of starting to play this dance, if you're not communicating with your shippers right now and really just letting them know, boy, howdy. Now, all that being said, Gabe just got on, okay? Gabe just took a new job. Gabe just got his first sale, which I love. Congratulations, brother. It's good to see you.
Good to see you, man.
This is the ultimate time. Right now, there isn't another time. It's Friday. Call some shippers today and ask them what they're seeing and try to get new business. Woo! This is a great time to find shippers, right? Everyone's worried about trucks. Who cares? Let's go get some shippers.
Yeah.
Hey, I know your broker just upcharged you 30%. Are you really that happy with them? No. So this is a good time for those brokers that aren't communicating well enough for you as a broker to get into some of those shippers. So right now, whoo, man, yeah, I know you need to protect your business. I know you need to friggin' find some trucks to haul some freight. Flip the coin. Let's start making some calls next week.
Yeah, the coffee's hitting today. I see it. I love it.
Man, I'm fired up.
I mean, you have to be fired up. I mean, especially how the weeks have been gone. I mean, like you said, if you're allergic to picking up the phone and doing work, it's not the industry. Right?
I know.
I mean,
it really isn't. You really have got to find a blueprint that makes it friggin' work. Bella said something else that I thought was interesting, and I got to find it real quick because I just thought it was such a great thing. They try to cut us because other carriers took a cut. Yeah, 100%. And people are always out there. There's always a broker. There's always a double broker. There's always a dispatcher. There's somebody that is willing to cut your rate. And the only thing that really is going to matter is that relationship.
I was going to say, because, those guys are taking the cut. They do this for a while. Then they're going to start saying, oh, shit, like this isn't working. And then, boom, they're gone. And they're going to come back to Tire Killer saying, hey, honey, we miss you.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, because he's consistent.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? The few things that she says in here, and I thought was interesting, that she said something in here that I thought was just a wildly good statement, and I gotta Splice and Squeeze was not a demand boom. I can't find it off. I should have highlighted it. But she said something in here that I thought was really good, about just kind of where we're at. Until then, expect volatile pockets. I think that's an interesting word to say. Not a full freight recovery. So I don't think we're going to see this crazy spike is what she's predicting. But I did think it was an interesting way of putting it. That we'll continue to see volatile pockets. Right. You know what I mean? Right. Which I think is interesting. Yeah. Anytime we just renegotiated. Yeah, but we didn't miss anything, did we? No, we didn't miss anything. What are you guys seeing from rates, from contracts to getting new shippers? Throw it in the comments. We'd love to hear from you as we go into, which I can't believe we're halfway through February, by the way. Yeah. What are you doing for Valentine's Day? Is that what you're thinking? Yes, actually it is. What are you doing for Valentine's Day?
Nothing. Loving myself.
Single. Well, I love you too, and I hope that
my rates are up.
I get it. I hope you have a friggin' incredible Valentine.
But yeah, I think this is what you're
that is
talking about. It's a market where capacity is thin, cautious, and unwilling to expand. So even minor disruptions create major rate reactions.
Yeah, we saw the yo-yo this week for sure.
Yeah,
100% saw the yo-yo. I think things get back to normal next week after the holiday, of course.
Yeah, I agree, man. I'm going to kind of go back to it. I mean, it's just e-carrier check. We really don't talk about it enough and how it truly can help you in times like this. And it's beneficial. I mean, it truly is. And for how much, I know there's a lot of other techs out there that's pretty costly. Yeah. We're pretty, we're fair in pricing, and if you find those, anywhere from 1 to 10 good carriers that you can call and make a good relationship, I mean, that pays for your subscription and
Yeah.
helps grow your business. And not only do you get e-carrier check, you get Jared and I to kind of help you just with life when it comes to this industry.
Yeah.
We talk to so many people throughout the week. Obviously, we see attract a lot of newer people coming in.
100%.
They're probably not at where some of the people are at today watching. We got a lot of professionals that watch us, and but we love to help anywhere we can. Each carry check is awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely think, we say this a lot about shippers, but not every shipper is right? That same thing can go for carriers, right? I think that not every carrier, if we give you a list, or if you find a list, or you start to kind of call people, and the first 5 carriers don't go the way you hoped, that's okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You just got to keep turning over stones. You know what I mean? I remember when we built e-carrier check, I'd call 100 carriers. Didn't care. I'd literally have a list.
Right.
And you've seen it where I'm just list, talk to them, no, maybe, call back, all this. Our goal is to shorten up that list, but you're still going to have to work. You know what I mean? We show you how to build that couch. We're not going to give you the couch.
Right.
So,
and I think a lot of what everyone's going through this week are a lot of scars. Remember those scars, and like you said, start calling those shippers, and let's talk about some of the scars that you're feeling, and maybe they're feeling it as well.
Yeah. From
the current providers, and let's see if you can win some business.
Yeah. Because I mean, honestly, at this point, like if you looked at all these analyticals, Samantha Jones puts out her market recap. Bella puts out her market recap. If there's not 5 things that you can say on a cold call in here that doesn't get their attention, they may not ship enough, or they've got some really good relationships with some carriers, and they're probably set. Right. But if you call and say, hey, we saw a spike last week in rates and capacity, I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. Would you have 5 minutes that we could sit down and talk about your business? Sometimes people are like, I'm not dealing with you. But then if they call with some kind of value, let's go. Gabe always talked about, we don't need to have a trucking area. Let's talk value. Let's talk about what are you doing when these spikes hit you?
Right.
You know what I mean? Because they still have to get their freight to their clients. So always think about it from their perspective. But definitely next week, we'll be doing some sales calls with some brokers. And I think it's a good week to be looking and seeing where they're at. So,
no, I agree. Well, Jared, I love it. Shout out to Bella and Samantha Jones. Just really appreciate the feedback we get to see. And we appreciate everyone that gets to talk with us. And kind of hear their scars and
100%.
See how we can help them. So hop on e-carrier check today. Hit us up. Let's get you our 3-month trial. Let's help you build some relationships. If you're a broker looking for carriers, let's do it. If you're a carrier looking for brokers or direct shippers, we can do that as well.
Yeah.
So hit us up. Hop on e-carrier check. Let's help you grow your business this year, man. So you guys have a great Friday. If you do any traveling, be safe out there.
I miss cold call Fridays. All right, we can do that. I think we could probably do that next Friday.
I know we got Samantha on next week.
Oh, so do we?
Well, maybe after her Friday tip, we can.
Maybe we try it next week.
Try that next week.
I'm down.
So, all righty, guys. Thank you